Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's Marketing Crew. And first of all, may I welcome Tracy Carter, somebody that I met some months ago at a business networking event in Bath. We really got on very well. And Tracy, just so that you know, we don't operate like BNI or all the other networking groups. Done that for many, many years. This is a real focus on actual discussions about marketing and marketing subjects. And we go through 5 steps of any coordinated marketing campaign. And I'm happy to have a one-to-one with you after this to see where it might help you. But the 5 key areas are: you've got to know what audience you're dealing with. Audience is absolutely critical. If you're talking to the wrong audience, you're going to get frustrated, and so will they. They think you're selling them something that's not appropriate. Getting that audience to lean into a conversation is a skill in itself. And then having that meaningful conversation, that engagement that builds your reputation, builds your support for that person, builds your understanding and the rapport with that person, that then leads, hopefully, to a sale. That's where most businesses then loop back to their audience again, and they get into that spiral. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, there's 2 fundamental areas that a lot of the businesses miss out on, and we cover here. One is actually retaining clients. And it'll be interesting. I'm going to get Marcus to talk a little bit about that in today's subject, because I was talking to him yesterday about that. Very important to retain clients for a lot of good reasons. But secondly, when you retain clients and you continue to build the relationship, they value you even more, and they're in the best position possible to refer you. That's the 5th there, to introduce you to other people. So they're the 5 key areas. And we don't normally go around and say, I do this, I do that. We don't want to take 20 minutes of doing that. So, but all I would say is that at any part of the conversation, if you want to join in and have a comment to say, just throw your hand up, I'll notice it. And welcome to Jason, who's speaking to us from Germany. Is that right?
That's right, Paul. Yeah, I've just had to install the NordVPN app because your Zoom still wouldn't let me in because it said I'm in Germany. So I've been messing around the last 5 minutes.
Why not letting Germans in? That's terrible, That's terrible.
Exactly. Brexit. Yeah.
So we don't do that, but with visitors, we just give them 30 seconds or so to tell us what you do so that the rest of us know. And the rest of the people, you'll find some really inspiring contribution. And I'm more than happy to give you connections with those people after the call. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Right. So Tracy, just tell us briefly what it is you do.
So before you all kind of, turn off, I'm a business coach and leadership coach. And basically, I've kind of worked for 30 years in the corporate world. I was a director and a managing director, set up a business. And now I've decided to kind of step into kind of being a solo entrepreneur and take those skills and help other people get over their fears, get the right mindset, so as they can actually shine their light to achieve the things they want to achieve. And it's in all of us. So it's just about kind of unblocking that.
That's great. That's great. So you'll obviously need a strategy to get that relaunched. I know you were working on that, and I guess you're in a good place here. Jason, do you want to tell us? We've known each other for many, many years. 2 years. I think you're only about that high when I first met you, but
yeah.
You're about that high now. But Jason, briefly tell us why you're here.
So probably for the last 10 years, my kind of core income stream has been I do web development and build sales funnels for clients. But actually, at my age, I've got a few grey hairs, not quite as many as Paul. I'm taking a real pivot, and the next couple of weeks, I start the role in sales and marketing for a German, it's actually a basement manufacturing company that operate in the UK. So I have to work on developing a marketing campaign and sales strategy to develop my own leads and then go and see clients. But we're selling basements anywhere between £100,000 and £500,000. So it's going to be a really interesting challenge, such a long kind of sales lead time. But yeah, that's why I'm here today.
So you're really just coming back up to speed to what's going on now. I mean, you know the stuff in deep down in the subconscious, and you're more than capable. But I think it's just seeing whether there's any fresh approaches. So welcome on board, and welcome Rod. He's probably he's there from his van coming back from one of his clients, and Rob is a personal coach as well. So right, so last week we talked about marketing campaigns per se, and whether they were necessary at all and what the benefits were. And what I'd like to do, just briefly, only briefly, I want to share my screen. I will in a minute, because I've just realized I turned that off recently. So just a minute. Let me just get the screen up so it goes straight to that. Right, I'm going to share the screen just to remind us. We talked last week about marketing campaigns, and we decided the good definition was an organized course of action to promote and sell a product or service, with the emphasis on organized and actually a course of action to promote and sell a product or a service. And we talked about many of the benefits, but we essentially decided that the whole process of that was to bring people into some sort of sales, or you can call it a marketing pipeline. Every piece of business that you do this week, last week, the future, has to go through this pipeline, and yet many people don't refer to it. I will give the visitors a download to this document, because you can jot down how and where are you getting your leads from. Is it on LinkedIn? Is it on Google pay-per-click? Where are you going to get your leads from? How are you going to connect with those people? How are you going to tease them into a connection? If you're on LinkedIn, it could be very proactive, but how are you going to do it? And then it leads to a conversation where you need to qualify whether that person is the ideal potential client, potential prospect, or whatever. We have to qualify. Otherwise, we're just pitching in with a sale. And I see so many people on telesales do that. I had an energy company last week ring me and straight away pitch into how they could save me money on the rising cost of energy. And I say, I'm not responsible for energy costs. And so I cut him short so that he didn't waste his time. But he was clearly beginning to waste and irritate me, because he wasn't asking me any questions, you know? So the qualification of a client is very important. And it's very important for our own mental state, because it's very frustrating when you feel as if you're making progress. You may be concerned whether you really are a salesperson and you're not getting anywhere, but it could be that you're talking to the wrong person at the wrong time. So that qualification process is important. But at some point after that conversation, we need to be able to present our solution. And when it says presentation, it doesn't mean to say a pitch. Oh, there's nothing wrong with that, I guess. Well, possibly is the way it's done, but you need to be able to present the solutions. And then at some point, you need to be able to say, shall we go ahead? And in many cases, you'll get a yes. In many cases, you'll get a no. And in some cases, in fact, probably more often than not, you'll get, let me think about it. Now, what you do then, of course, is a skill in itself. But in many cases, you will need to follow up. And it's amazing how many people just don't do that, because if they haven't made the decision, they feel as if it's a lost sale. And then, of course, you go to that decision. Do you then ditch them? No, you don't. 82% of sales take place after the seventh touch. So it's very important that we do stay in touch with people. So let me just go back to there. So what I'd like to ask the question is, who is running a campaign right now? Who started the year off with a campaign?
Yeah, I am.
Rob is, and Rod. I nearly said nobody there. Welcome, Rob. What's your campaign and how you're running it?
So I'm running it in conjunction with Maria Newman, and we are publicising our 2 workshops starting on the 8th and 15th of February. One's for men and one's for women. So we have meetings once a week, and we've divided up our marketing campaign. So Maria publicises the women's workshop. I publicise the men's workshop. But we have a to and fro. We comment on each other's postings. So actually, that partnership is really, I find it really productive and impactful and easy, because you've got someone hitting the ball back over the fence to you. Over the net. So it's I think it chivvies it along, rather than, as we talked about last week, I've done some marketing and that's that. It's like it keeps it going, because the marketing campaign is being returned to you by your partner.
When you decided to do this, how long did you give it to do the marketing between conceiving of the idea and the event itself?
About two and a bit months. So we started hinting at it in December and saying we're going to release things in January without specific details. So prior to that, we had some imagery, which was a bit of a, do you remember when O2 started and all they had were posters saying O2? There was no mention of what O2 did. But it was on bus stops and posters, O2. So we kind of did that a little bit, and we had Conquer as the name of one of the workshops up, and an image of a conker, and so.
And did you get people asking what the conker was?
Not so much then, but when the phrase came out, conker, helping men to crack their nuts, that was a bit more engaging.
That's good. I like that. And what's your process? I mean, where are you up to now? Are you taking people straight away into a booking form? Are you is your content linking back to this promotion all the time? What's happening?
Content's always linked back to the 2 Eventbrite pages, and at the moment we're just talking. We're running Instagram lives every Monday night at 6:45. We post. What we're trying to do is 90% of our postings are related to those workshops. So I might talk about journaling, which I have done, but I then steer people towards the course and say, on this course, we'll be recommending that you do journal whilst you're on the course, and so on and so forth. So it still provides some latitude around what you can post about, but the end destination is, and this course, is linked to that, or what I'm talking about will appear on that course.
So everything's sort of funneling down, classic sales funnel that you just saw, pipeline, everything's funneling down to this core event. You've focused on that. It's not that you've put it up and you're doing other things. That is the payoff. How many people have you got booked so far?
So far, I think none at the moment. And Maria and I were talking about that, and we were asking each other how we felt about it. And I recall what you said about the 7th contact is is where things start to change, but also we don't know. Something changed last night. We had more engagements and actually people writing in on the Instagram live, and that was a change. And I've one thing I did in my marketing campaign. So on the weekend, I recorded personal voice messages to about 40 people and explaining what the course was, the workshop, how they can help me market it, and provided them a link. And I've had lots of people come back to me with that, oh, right, okay, right, oh, I think I know somebody. And so actually, great being out there with, online, but then actually taking the time to, it's not a, one voice recording for everyone, it's one per person. So I'm actually saying, hi, Dave, how you doing? I want to just tell you about this. And so that's having some activities coming from that.
That was in the back of my mind. I think that's excellent. So in other words, you've calling in people that know you well, where
Yeah.
you've got a good reputation, and ask them to help you out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could even lead with, I need a favor. Could you help me with a favor? Let me tell you what I'm doing. Blah, blah, blah. You're not selling to them, but you're asking them for a favor. Anybody you know, etc., etc. Jason, you had a point.
It was only to ask Rob, have you actually done any on your Instagram lives or any of your content? Have you got a kind of a solid case study? The note I wrote while you were talking was actually storytelling. One thing that Paul is a real master at, and that's how he and I re-engaged, by me watching some of his stories on LinkedIn. So have you got some previous clients that are your target avatar that have been successful, maybe that you could do either a podcast interview or a YouTube session, and then deliver some messaging through that, and then share that with the audience that, oh, here's someone that we helped previously, without talking about the course itself?
That's a good point. Thanks very much. Nice to meet you, Jason. With this particular, this is the first time this course is run. I've run other courses. I've run about 7 or 8 different courses, but they're with NHS patients, and I don't have access to them now because I'm not working in that environment. So I can't kind of bring them back in to comment. What I'll think about that. There's something I can bring up in terms of talking about the other courses that I've run, because the way I'm doing my courses, the kind of structure is quite similar. It's just the content, the kind of the what we're affecting is different. So I can bring up testimonials from previous courses and say, this is what it's been like to work with me, and those are written, but I can't access someone live.
Rather than the course, focus on the course itself, the actual person and the result they got.
Yeah.
I worked previously with this guy who had this particular challenge, or this woman who had this challenge. We worked on a process that enabled them to do X, Y, Z, and at the end of it, then they shifted, and this is what they're doing now. So if you know of anybody that's experiencing this challenge, rather than get into the nuts and bolts of the course itself, we all want the change. That's the result we want.
Yeah. I think Jason's point there, can I ask you, when you're doing your content, are you focused on what you're putting into the course, or are you focusing on what they're going to get out of it, i.e. after they've been on the course?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's been more about identifying problems that people are facing at the moment. So for the women's course, it's called Resolve. It's about finding more balance in their lives. For the men's course, it's called Conquer, so getting past an obstacle. So we're quite heavily talking about that at the moment, and then we've been talking about the content, and then the Instagram lives we're posing questions such as, what does it feel like to be stuck? What kind of obstacles are we facing? So we're kind of doing a lot of stuff, but actually now we need to steer the ship towards, right, okay, let's talk about what it's going to be like once we've done it. So we definitely will do that on Instagram Lives, but I think we're doing a very good job of setting the scene.
Yeah.
So someone can go, that's what I feel like, and
It sounds as if you are. You're reaching out to lots on, you're pushing the content out there, you're measuring it. Do not get fazed by the fact that you've got nobody signing up at the moment. That happens. And it could be that do you have a target for the number of people you want on this course? What's the target?
12.
12.
Yeah. And so Maria and I will lead the course. So it's 12 people with 2 coaches. Yeah.
You may exceed that. You may not, but it doesn't matter, because you're doing it. And each time you do it, you're going to learn it. And you know that more than anybody. Rob, you had a point. You said that. Thank you for that, Rob. We'll perhaps come back to that later. Rod, you were the other person that was doing a promotion.
Yeah.
Rod is the funeral director, so it's going to be a real challenge to see how he's going to promote death. Go on.
No, I mean, I've been in my current business premises, my unit, my funeral home. I mean, you're scared to call it a unit because people get the wrong idea, really. But for the last 2 years, and that's Chilcompton, that's sort of BA3, and I sort of, my main message goes out to BA5 and the surrounding areas, so, and I'm on the market once a week here as well. So hang on a minute, what am I doing? My premises are in Chilcompton. I've got Midsummer Norton, Radstock, Poulton, and reaching out to the outskirts of Bath. Why aren't I doing that? And then all of a sudden you've got a couple of farmers that drove by, dad died in a field, you know, and all that. So just because I'm there, I mean, I seem to get the business. So, you know, it's a no-brainer. What am I doing here? I am trying to reach out to Glastonbury Street over Ewan's Way when I should be on my doorstep where my unit is. So, you know, here I am thinking I know something about marketing. What? Proving I'm from Somerset yet again, thick as a plank. You know, so I've beefed up the normal traditional marketplace, you know, the Mendip Times, just to give it a little bit of a wiggle, and various things like that. But essentially, I'm going to be working on the website and increasing the flow with the Google advertising and stuff like that.
By the way, for those people whose background isn't marketing, giving it a bit of a wiggle is a technical term that only Rod knows. But Anne-Marie, thanks for that, Rod.
Yeah, so I was just going to say a couple of things, really kind of along what Rob's been saying. So I don't have a marketing campaign per se at the moment, but what I do is I've kind of, I guess, got like an ongoing marketing thing. So when Rob was talking about personalizing voice messages, I do that. So every new inquiry, I will get their postal address and I send them out a little pack, which has got a few bits and pieces and a nice pen. And every single one of them has got a card that I handwrite with their obviously name on it and say, thanks for your interest, blah, 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 blah. And I think that seems to be quite successful because I'm not just saying yes and I'm sending them a generic email. Not there's anything wrong with that, but for me, I love having things that someone's put a bit of time and thought into. So that's kind of like an ongoing marketing campaign, if you like. The other thing I was going to say is about collaboration. So Martin and I had a one-to-one yesterday, and we've kind of worked out where there's going to be a great synergy and stuff that we can do together. And again, that just means that we can both kind of work to help each other. And that in itself is, I guess, a marketing campaign as well. So, yeah, it's all good.
I think that I think the fact that you've got something ongoing, and by the way, by posting something, that's golden, absolutely golden. Especially if you handwrite the document.
It's a little thank you card that it just says thank you on the front of it. It's a properly printed. It's a nice thing, blank inside, and I just write to whoever. Thanks ever so much for your interest. Bom bom bom, and then they get a little pack which has got a little book that tells them a bit more about me. There's a little notepad. There's a pen, and it just goes out in a nice little jiffy bag with a sticker on it. So yeah.
But you can't get some little notepads that have covered journals so they can start journaling their life. Because
no, but it's good. It's personalised as well. Look, it's got a little.
I like it.
So that goes out along with a pen as well, because I've got actual. So you can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that goes out to everybody, and it does two things. Obviously, one, it sends it out, and people kind of get it, and it's quite nice. I've also been a bit. This is very non-woke, but I've got pink and blue jiffy bags. So pink jiffy bags go to the women, right, and the blue jiffy bag goes to men. But yeah, I know, really sorry about that.
No,
but the other thing, the other thing it does is it means that Rob wants a pink one. Okay, Rob, I'll send you a pink one. It means that I get their mailing address, which is quite awkward to ask for unless you're asking for it for a nice reason. And because I'm saying, oh, you know, I'm going to pop you some bits and pieces in the post. And that works brilliantly because it meant that I had everyone's address to send them out in a Christmas card. So it's just kind of, for me, it's just keeping that kind of touch point, I guess.
Everybody seems to have shifted towards digital because it's easy and you can reach a lot more people, which means that the only thing that's in the letterbox are flyers and that might be badly targeted. I get excited when there's an Amazon parcel arriving, even though it's not hand addressed, because it's something I'm looking forward to. And when you get a letter or a package that's addressed to you, maybe personal, maybe handwritten, that's the first thing you tend to open. It makes it rather special. and it helps you stand out. So I wouldn't, I would definitely want to continue with. And that is when you're doing campaigns, I think more of us need to be thinking also of old-fashioned ways of doing things. Rob?
Anne-Marie, I love that whole idea. And I'm just thinking what I've been talking about recently with clients. We've been recommending books to each other. And one thing I could do to access their home address, but also kind of go down that avenue, is purchase them a book on Amazon and send it to their house. And that's a small, cost in terms of the package that people are buying. But it's, I'm just thinking I'm going to do that. I might start doing that for my clients. Like once I've coached them and I'm learning about them, I think, right, I want to give you a book. I've got a great book in mind, and can I mail it to you? Yeah, okay.
Each pack costs, I think, £1.53 postage. So it's not a huge amount. Obviously, there was an investment in the bits and pieces, but this is the book that goes out, which is just something that I've put together, but it's like sort of quality, and it's just got loads of information about my processes, what to expect. It's got a little diagram in it about differences between the two, traditional publishing and self-publishing. So that gives them all the information they need about working with me. And then, as I say, they get a couple of freebies as well in a nice pink or blue jiffy bag. It seems to work quite well.
Anne-Marie, you might have mentioned it, but are those people you've already qualified to a certain stage, or is that to everybody that makes an inquiry?
Anybody that makes an inquiry. So even if it's someone who, because I get a lot of referrals now, which is brilliant. So if someone comes to me as a referral, then I'll just say, yeah, excellent, we'll have a quick chat. I mean, sometimes it's even before we've had a conversation, because I just think if I've sort of spoken to them briefly or we've had an email exchange, to then have something in the post that gives them, it doesn't take long to read it, but it just gives them a bit of background information. It's personalised, as I said. It seems to make a difference. So I basically, at the moment, it's anyone that shows an interest.
In that publication, do you have some testimonials on a page?
No, not in this one. I haven't. There's a voucher on the back, like a referral voucher for £25 off if you refer a friend. And there's the little thingy to get all my contact details and stuff like that. But this I did about 5 or 6 months ago. So it does need updating now. But obviously I've got a box of them to get rid of first. So
right. When you update, my contribution is ditch the referral bit at this stage, because until they've bought into what you're doing themselves, they're hardly going to refer. Not easily. There might be a case, but the refer a friend, I'd replace that with testimonials. Do you have on that page examples in how you would use a book? People think a book, it's got to go on Amazon, but it could be a book just for the family. It could be sort of 5 or 6 books. So do you cover that? Ideas to get them stimulated and motivated.
Yeah, so basically it goes through all the things like writing process, all of the different parts of that, illustrations, how all of that works, timescale guides for fiction and non-fiction, and all of the different bits that go into it. And then there's a section on children's books, ISBN numbers, and then there's a section on Amazon and all the different ways that you can produce and use books through Amazon, pricing, cover, and then just different ways that you can, different ways that you can, when you publish that you can use it. So there's quite a bit of useful information. There's a bit about audio books as well, script writing, vanity publishers, avoid at all costs.
By the way, I've learned that any one of us that can read out loud could audition to become an Audible reader. You come cheap to begin with, and somebody that has got a lot of money might go for the cheap speaker. And obviously the bigger publishers get more prestigious speakers. And then you get a percentage of the sale of those books. So it sounds quite good. Jason, you had a point.
Hi, Anne-Marie. Without obviously seeing what's in it, to me, that what you just held up looks like it's something that has a 20 or 30 or 40 pounds value in itself anyway, because it's delivered obviously as some kind of course manual. I would expect that content, without knowing what's in your course or your coaching, maybe the you've given people like almost too much at once. So, what's the first start of the process? Is it how to structure your chapters? And then maybe like a 1 or 2 page worksheet. But I also, I work with another mastermind group that's more into business systems and automation. And several of the guys there are coaching at the kind of £1,500 to £2,000 level. And one of the challenges they've had is the time they spend on phone calls. So we've worked together as a group on a program where you do your marketing, you have your first step of the funnel, as if you like. You might have perhaps a 10-minute phone call just to qualify the person. But then before you do anything else, they have to watch a 30 or 40-minute webinar type presentation that's been pre-recorded, but you structure it as if you set it up as a personal link for them. And what that does is a qualification process, but it also gives them far more time with you. Just thinking about 7 touch points is really valid, but if someone's listened to your voice, watched you on screen, then you're really building trust in that process. And at the end of that, it's effectively having a half-hour phone call, but you've chosen your very best presentation, you've queued it all up, you've indoctrinated them a lot more in your voice, and then after that, perhaps offer. I think it looks like you're almost offering too much value up front. But
I don't know whether I'd agree. I think that's great value. I think it's a wonderful value, but I think along the line of what you're saying, Jason, what do you do after you've sent that, Anne-Marie?
So they go into my CRM system, and then there will be a follow-up. To be perfectly honest, most people that receive that get back in touch anyway. Yeah, okay, we're talking relatively small scale. I appreciate that. I don't know, for me, it's important because I love it if somebody takes the trouble to put something in the post to me. So for me, it's what I'm about, I guess.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And if you've got a quantity to shift, I would make that into a campaign right now to move those out. But the point that what I'm asking is, what is your next step along that funnel? Because the whole funnel is about reaching out to an audience, connecting with that audience, qualifying them, which you're doing very well, and then somehow having a conversation that leads to a presentation or are we in a position, do you think what I'm doing here can help you achieve what you want to achieve? And so people are getting back to you. You're having a conversation. Yeah. The people that don't, am I saying you stick them in the CRM system and send them an email?
Yeah, basically. I say that's what I do. In practice, it doesn't happen at the moment because my CRM is in production and not necessarily working as effectively as it could be. But that's the goal, is that there will be an automated process that will then pick up once I've sent these things out. It will then pick up and they will go on a journey. But the next thing is I will invite them to book a 45-minute consultation. And generally speaking, if they've got to that point, they're pretty interested.
That's brilliant. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Instead of just putting them in the CRM system and email, those that don't, if most people ring you, the few that don't, I'd ring them. I just say, I just want to check, what the post is like at this time of the year. Did you get the package? Is it any, I'd love some feedback and get a conversation going there. Then you've got 100% of the people you've invested in sending out. You've got some sort of rapport. And you can then invite them to, you might invite them to an a video call, you might invite them to a group call or whatever. So in other words, I'd look again at that campaign, Anne-Marie, and I'd map it against that document and brainstorm. You want to brainstorm with me? Absolutely, give me a call. You want to brainstorm with anybody else here? And maybe if you've got time, we'll do a few breakouts to actually brainstorm that. Ollie, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with Anne-Marie was saying you've got quite a few to shift. It'd be quite good on your website, maybe to look at your most popular pages on the website and put some kind of lead magnet or pop-up kind of thing on there to kind of capture people's information in exchange. Because both Paul and Jason, I think it's clear to everyone that there's a huge amount of valuable information in that and content in that document which you send out. So to offer that away to people who are maybe lingering a bit longer on your site, so you're not kind of pissing them off basically, and offering them something in exchange that then you get their details, they get a nice little information pack that then you can follow up with afterwards. That's
a good idea. A good idea. So,
yeah, thank you, Ollie.
You say to follow the CRM system is not as it should be. I had a call with Marcus, who we're doing some work together, and I introduced Marcus to a system that I'm using at the moment. Did you get it resolved, Marcus, with them? Have they replied back?
I did. After a few emails, yes, I've now got it cheaper than you've got it, Paul.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be on to them. Anyway, no worry, that's not the point. I introduced Marcus to a very simple system I showed everybody last week called Teamsy. And I don't want to go into it again, but I know part of the process, part of what we're talking about here is getting into the habit of a system whereby we do that process and follow up. And Marcus admitted that he didn't have that system. You've been using that for a few days. How's it worked?
It's been really, really good, actually. It's a nice interface that's a little bit like it's a bit gamey in that there's targets and things you have to do, and that appeals to me. But yeah, it's definitely been worth going through all my old contacts and emails and whatever to try and reconnect with some previous customers.
I think in our previous conversations, we talked about your retention and your existing clients. And sometimes we've lost touch with those people and we just don't know how to re-engage. And this was a simple process with this system whereby you just reached out to maybe 10 people a day, just with a non-salesy, haven't spoken for a while, hope you had a good Christmas, how's things with you? That's all it was. And Marcus reached out, whether it was on Facebook or LinkedIn, and he can measure the response rate, because the response rate, and it's something I've noticed as well. People are coming back and say, "Oh, it was great to hear from you. Really great to hear from you. This is what I'm doing at the moment, blah, blah, blah." I'm not into a selling mode. So they say, "What are you doing?" So I tell them a little bit about Marketing Crew, tell them a little bit about my grandchildren and my photography. And that's it. One of the calls I made, one of the connections has resulted in a referral for a friend of mine, Chris Isaac, because the person came back. He's still in touch with the guy that does the window tinting. I said, "Yeah, I'll get him to give you a call. What's your best number?" Well, I probably know a number anyway, but I'll connect the two. So I'm delighted at that. I can tell, I'm about to have dinner with Chris anyway. So might mean that he pays for dinner. I don't know. But that aside, it's that momentum and energy of speaking to people again if we don't know how to do it. So if that's a challenge, just speak out to me again and I'll point you to this particular program, or you can speak to Marcus. And we're both getting used to using it on a regular basis. So you've got to have a way in that system again, look at that system of taking people through a process, both your prospects and the process for your existing clients, because that is what will lead. That's where the leaks are at the moment. So those people who are not doing campaigns, I'm not here to persuade you to do them, but I wonder why we don't do them. Do we feel we don't need to do them? I know that sometimes people think, "Oh, a campaign is reducing the price and I don't want to undervalue my services," which is a very good point. In fact, Marcus and I were talking about that. But why generally do we not do campaigns? It's just we don't think about it, or we don't feel it's relevant, we don't need it, or we don't know how to, we haven't got the ideas to do it. Ollie.
Yeah, I want to do a campaign this year, and I want my kind of one's more that I want to kind of ensure that all the local businesses in this area know who I am and what I do is the kind of the core purpose of the campaign. But I think for me at the moment, it's just a time thing. I've got quite a lot of work booked in, so I've decided not to kind of prioritise the marketing bit yet. But I'm aware that obviously that work will finish. So I want to make sure that there is a kind of steady stream of work coming in. But yeah, I think for me, it's probably a time thing is the biggest reason why.
I think it generally is, especially if you're offering a service and you're it's just you. It's a bit like a consultant or web, there's only many projects you can work on. We've talked about it before. And so when you're really busy, you just don't have time to be prospecting, which is what campaigning is all about. The only danger is, if you've got ongoing business, not a big issue, but sometimes you'll reach a stage where you've got no clients coming in because you haven't been prospecting. And knowing that it takes, as Rob has said, maybe 2 months to get something moving, it's then that people have the issues of getting that momentum, getting people through that pipeline. Rob?
I like the idea of prospecting, and so the courses we're running February is the kind of the point we're focusing on. I really respond to having like that date in the diary, but I'm also aware that telling people who I am is an ongoing process. So if I had a course every 4 months starting, I think I'm going to choose a target to talk about in the lead up to that hard date. So I might not be selling something in particular, but I might be this month talking about one particular topic, because for me personally, if I don't have a focus, then I'm quite disengaged, and I think that's where I've always struggled with how do I market myself? I could do anything, whereas if it's this thing, then I'm like, right, I'll get involved with that. I know what I'm doing now. So I think having a clear outcome is very helpful for me, and that's what I've experienced with Maria. And it's been much easier getting on with it than thinking I've got to market myself. So maybe choosing one particular thing to focus on for a month, without any kind of desired, particularly desired outcome. Maybe it's just that gentle introduction to a marketing campaign is, what can I consistently talk about, and go from there.
I think what's happening in the world right now, what are the mental issues that are resulting in politics, in Djokovic deciding to stand on his principles, and that could cost him millions? There's a man that you admire. So how can you link that to the issues that men have about standing by principles or whatever? That could be something, I think sometimes it needs brainstorming. Ollie's put something in the chat. By the way, the chat, by all means, put in there. I read them afterwards. I don't, because I'm focused here. But Ollie said, good to see all. Oh, no, something else, Ewan. You were asking whether a little book on leasing would be useful. Andy.
Yeah. Well, after hearing Anne-Marie's thing and what she's sending out, I get a lot of people that are very early in the stage of leasing or have never leased before, that they've got the same questions. I think, as Jason was pointing out, instead of me even getting to the discovery call, sending them a little book of leasing with the 5-10 basic FAQs in there before we even get to it. So those that it's not for them fall by the wayside, and only the ones that are really interested then come on through to discovery call.
So in other words, you could use that booklet as a qualifying.
Yeah.
As a qualifier. Absolutely. And the fact that you send them something is different, although companies, we do get, if it's seen as just promotional, then it'll be that you're selling me stuff. But if it's seen to be a helpful guide to leasing in 2022, then that could be very good indeed.
Yeah, cool.
I was talking with Marcus yesterday about the different projects and products that he's selling, and I came up with this, and one of them is as a branding photographer. He realizes that actually teaching business owners the importance of branding, what branding is. A lot of people are just not sure what branding is. It's just a word added to a photographer. But branding, as Mike Land will know, is very important. But in many cases, we have to teach our audience why they need what we've got. You know, like Andy, you're just talking about leasing. You are teaching people why leasing is a better option for people in business. So we were talking about that, and I mentioned the word, what offers do you have? And it's straight into the full-blown offer that he has. And he's got 2 offers. Just tell us briefly, Marcus, what the offers were.
Well, the packages I've got are 3, but so I've got the introduction offer, which is in the studio. I've got a middle offer, which is location photography, and a third offer, which is a subscription service.
Right. So what's the just tell us just very briefly, pictures the studio offer. What do you get?
Yeah.
What does it cost?
Yeah, basically, people for a sitting fee of £250, we get an hour to an hour and a half together to work on branded portraits, which are £50 each, and that price includes a 15-minute pre-shoot phone call to go through wardrobe and branding and to really nail down their exact needs.
So an hour and a half with you. You've got to go to your studio.
Yes.
You do an hour and a half with them. You'll talk about wardrobe, although you won't have the wardrobe for them. But you talk about the different colours, etc. So you give them an idea, have a brief discussion about branding, and you take some photographs, and they're £50 each.
Yes, correct.
Isn't right? So could they come away with just one photograph?
Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can.
That's a great offer, especially if somebody wants photography for, they want to link up all their images. What's the second offer?
And the second one is a sort of fairly sort of standard branding package, which is 3 hours on location and, my portable studio. And that is 1175. And that's basically, that's more for websites and for media that's going to be around for quite a long time. So, like a website, a corporate push or something like that.
So that's a slightly different audience. It's for a company, and it's really pulling all of their imagery together, maybe some campaigns as well. And then the other is just doing that, but it's a subscription service. So it's a year-long commitment, but it involves different sessions that are built into that, and it really spreads the cost. So there's 3 campaigns. Well, I'd been talking to Chris the other day, and he's not been on the calls recently because he's been heavily involved and he's working with a number of people on this call. And he was telling me what he wants to sell his programs at. And we got talking about tripwires, and I talked to Marcus about a tripwire. Do we all know what a tripwire is? Who doesn't? So marketing speak, so I apologize for that. It's something that where you reach out to your target audience and you give somebody a tempter, A, to see that they are prepared to spend any amount of money, and B, to start to actually start having the conversation and be involved together. And I'll show you a tripwire that I've used and how it can lead forward. But the idea that I had with Marcus was actually, and this could be a campaign in itself, to do a morning or a couple of hours of street urban branding. Call it whatever you will. But it was born on the idea that we all met at marketing at Bristol Harbour, and we walked round, and just prior to Christmas became a really good networking event. But this was people that were interested in branding would meet maybe at the M Shed, and let's say it was £20. And the idea was you'd come along, and in 2 hours, you'd have a networking event, you would have a discussion about branding, and then maybe you'd either have a couple of photographs taken, or you'd have, I think we did say, you'd end up with a couple of photographs. So, so you'd find somewhere to meet. Maybe you targeted 12 people, paying £20 each. you treat them to coffee and a cake or whatever while you did all the branding, the branding discussions. And then you take some discrete photographs. People have been networking. You maybe walk a few hundred yards and back again. I don't know whether you need to go all the way around, especially in Anne-Marie's shoes. But Marcus, to begin with, thought, well, hang on, I'm not so sure about that. £20, it's hardly here or there. But actually, let's just think about what that does. First of all, it's going to qualify people that are interested in branding. Okay, some of those people will be interested in networking, that's all right. But they'd learn about branding, and they'd come away with, say, a photograph, come away with some connections. But all of a sudden, Marcus is being paid £20 a time to get in front of his target audience and have a conversation with them. And I said I'd come along, I'd be delighted to come along to that, because it could be some of those people might be interested in beyond marketing, beyond branding, and be interested in the whole subject of marketing. But either way, I could contribute and support Marcus. Now, the tripwire is that campaign and the £20. That's just a tripwire. And maybe out of those people, nobody took him off on his other offers, because at the day, he would make them an offer. And it maybe give them a special price because they were there on that day. Can you see how one leads to the other that could lead to the continuity? Now, you might argue, well, I wouldn't want to charge that. I wouldn't want to do it that way. But that was the basic idea of a campaign and maybe a tripwire. I'm just going to share something right now. Talked about some examples. You know, I'm heavily involved in marketing, always have been. There's a system out there called My Lead System Pro, right? And I've known about this system for ages. I've dibbled and dabbled with it, etc. But they started and set up helping people market themselves, brand themselves, that were people in the home-based businesses. But I've noticed of late, they do just as much for people in any of the businesses that are on this call. And they have a lot of content that they provide for free. In fact, I've got access now to provide a lot of this content for free. And in there, they have mini campaigns. Some of them are for free, and some of them are for $1. i.e. 70, it's American, so 75p. So I think the zero rejection, I can't click on that. They have a landing page. They do a lot of blogs about rejection in marketing. And then they go to a page which talks about leveling up your social media marketing strategy. Get clear on who your dream prospects really are. I think what I'm going to do in a minute while we're talking, I'll go and find that so you can see it. So people can go and get free access. They click that, etc. They also, there's lots of them. There's lots of ready-made campaigns. But what also happens is they have $1 campaigns. That's their tripwire. And for when you do a $1 campaign, not only do you get the specialized campaign, and it could be on LinkedIn, a LinkedIn 5-day challenge, which for 75p is neither here nor there. You also get 30 days on their platform, which includes coaching, it includes all sorts of content, access to everything. So for $1, it's amazing. But of course, if you don't cancel after 30 days, it's $49 a month, right? I'm into my 4th month. I've got lots of content. The last 2 months, I haven't been back into it. So I'm now going to say, should I stay with it or should I re-engage with it? And it could be, so already that's a qualification. The $1 was the qualification. I'm able to get all the content and the value. And they'll know that out of every 20 people that take the $1, 5 people go on to, I'm imagining this, to stay on that regular subscription. And of those, maybe 3 go to the higher products that they sell. So that is a tripwire offer where you don't devalue, but you offer something that engages people, that can engage people. I've thought myself about, because we're all tempted by offers. I mean, we don't want to poo-hoo. You might want to, definitely don't want to drop your price permanently or whatever, but we all love offers. When we're at a stage, and by the way, all campaigns don't need to be offers, but when we're at a stage where we're about to, we're really thinking about something, 82% of people take 7 touches before they make a decision. Suddenly there's an offer and you think, right, I'm going to go for that. I've already decided, yeah, I'll go and do it. I'll do it. Part of the offer could be the money back guarantee, as I do. Marcus?
In my industry, there's a photography mentor called Gillian Devine, and she's got a great marketing campaign. What she does it 4 times a year, and she has a week on Facebook, and it's called a 5-day challenge to improve the marketing for your business. It's free, and it's in the morning at 7, and it's in the evening at 7 as well. So it's 2 touch points a day, 10 touch points in 1 week. She has about 400 to 500 people on that call, and she signs up 10%, about 50 people, 40, 50 people at £2,000 to go 4 times a year.
Wow.
I know, that's pretty good, isn't it? And it's just because she's very cleverly just got 10, all those touch points in 1 week. And, and she has wine with it in the evening, and people get very convivial. And yeah, I think it's a great marketing campaign. Free, yeah. And it's free. Yeah.
Anybody else?
I was only going to say, Marcus, if you did do the day that Paul's suggesting and had a crowd there, make sure that you also have another photographer or a partner or a sidekick take pictures of you taking pictures of an audience.
Yes.
Use that in your own marketing material and write the messages of it, because then you can say, oh, this is, because no one knows that maybe everyone was there for free or only £20, but then that would be a good feature for LinkedIn. This was one way I built my database, was be of interest to all business owners. And if you want to hire me to do something in your area, I heard of the story of a guy who was in property development, wanted investors, and he went to his local Ferrari garage and said, could I bring 30 high net worth individuals for an afternoon to have some test drives of your cars? Of course, the Ferrari garage, well, yeah, great, bring them on. And he then contacted a local wine supplier and said, would you like to do a cheese and wine tasting for some high net worth individuals at the Ferrari garage? And basically he was the impetus to get a group of people together. And ideally, obviously, if he'd hired a photographer or invited a photographer to go, do you want to take pictures of high net worth individuals next to Ferraris and give out your business card for weddings and so on? So it was a way that basically you inspire a whole group of businesses to come together. So you can certainly leverage what Paul suggested there, I think.
Yeah, well, you must have been listening to the conversation, because we agreed I would go along and take some video and that on another project as well, yes, which can be used. So that would be good. I'm trialing it at the moment, but and on a money back guarantee, because I want to make sure that people get value. But I've alluded to it before. I actually do I'm doing a 90-day accelerator program with individuals that want more individual marketing for $397, 90 days. And that's working very closely with somebody. I mean, I don't know whether that is, whether the person, I know the person is going to get value, but I don't know whether I'm going to be overloaded too much, whether it's going to take too much of my time. But nevertheless, I'm going to learn from that to decide whether that price was too much or whether that price wasn't enough or whatever. And so now if somebody comes on to Marketing Crew to join, they press the button they want to join. At that point, there's what we call in marketing an upsell, an offer. And I've included 3 months of Marketing Crew within that cost. So actually, effectively, it's quite good value. It doesn't it doesn't take away from the value of a marketing crew, and it certainly doesn't take away from what I'm offering. I've got that item before. I'm going to show you how you might do this digitally, which will lead us into next week's session at some point. I'll share it again. This will show you what I'm talking about. I help home business owners get results. By the way, all this is done within MLSP. So get my free trainings. All home businesses these are the problems that they've got. So in other words, it's called a long form sales letter. But for instance, if somebody does the zero rejection, they click on that and it goes to level up your social media marketing, blah, blah, blah. Put your best email for instant access. So all of a sudden I'm qualifying people. I'm reaching out digitally. So what I could do on that, and that was free. So you notice that pop up. What I'm doing in that, I wouldn't promote this whole page, but I could just promote that one, that one particular promotion on social media. And that could be something that's done for me. But there's no reason why you would need to give some thought to that with your campaigns as a particular option. So anybody, any thoughts? Mike, you know, Mike is spelling. I need a spell checker on that. Well, if that's that last one, I didn't produce that, by the way. They did.
Yeah, it just said instant instead of instant.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I would have got the spelling right. Mike, you're used to campaigns. What are your thoughts and what we've been talking about?
Gee, I've been writing notes down all over the place. I mean, there's so many great ideas. I love the touch points with Anne-Marie. I actually reached out and said she needs to be a guest speaker. And there's a whole host of networking events. It would be a handy platform for her to stand up and say, look, this is just one of my tips. Talk the way through it and then say, but you can download or give away this pack. You just send me your contact details. Yeah, most of the places, I mean, business focus would mean 30 new faces or 30 new contacts for you after each meeting. So it's a great way of growing it. But I was just writing tons of notes, really, loving all of it.
I think the key about deciding to do a campaign, even if you don't do it, focuses you on that sales pipeline, that marketing pipeline, as to how you're taking people through the process. Or are we just posting, reaching out, having a conversation and doing nothing more? Which this is not a great use of our time. It's letting stuff slip through the cracks.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Now, what I thought we'd do, yes, Jason.
Just a quick one. I've been thinking through how would Rod do a campaign. Well, I've just checked his website and I've seen two things that clearly could use. Is number one, obviously funeral packages is something that people start before there's a necessary funeral, or if you presumably you pay in advance. And the other thing is the will writing service. I can see that's an introduced service, but I know a couple of friends of mine that are will writers, and it's surprisingly low cost actually to do it properly. But it also, if you don't have it, can create just some of the most unbelievable problems if someone dies unexpectedly. So actually, if you could do focus on a campaign around do you have a will and all the implications of not having one, would help you build a database. And actually then while you're in that relationship, you'd be sowing the seed for, I'm still the guy to call if and when this comes. But yeah, you can't do a campaign to, is anybody looking to die right now? Because I want to help them, but that could be a way to develop your database.
In actual fact, what you've just suggested there, is the database. Very often campaigns could be nothing more than actually gathering that database that have indicated a particular, even a spurious interest that you can stay in touch with. And that's a good point, Jason. And I know periodically Rod does that. Rod, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I was going to say, funny enough, only this week, in fact, yesterday, I had a call with a company that do funeral plans, but also they have an estate planning service, probate, the whole jolly well lot. They're called Capital Life. And the guy phoned me one time and desperation needed a body collecting over at Linton and Lidmouth. Paul knows the story. And a 5-hour trip and two big chunky lads, me and Big Barry. And we brought this guy back and probably didn't earn very much money out of it at all. But subsequently, I've had something like £300,000 worth of funeral plans allocated to me as the funeral director that they want to use. And then on top of that, their estate planning department rang and said, by the way, happy to help you in the probate area and we'll offer a free will. So all of a sudden, I mean, you know, it's amazing. If you do someone a favor, I know that sort of seems like a funny old favor, really, doesn't it? But you can imagine the situation if you're in allocations and you can't get anybody to go and bring someone in. Yeah, it could be tricky, couldn't it?
Point is, Rod, and Jason's quite right. Probate could be a campaign in itself. Now, you don't do probate, but what you didn't tell people is that they've offered, not only do they offer a probate service with a free will, they also offer you 25% of the value of that probate. Is it the sub or the value? So, I mean, you can see where that can work very well. You would need the content written, etc., and you would need to approach it from the client's point of view. Why do you need probate? Why does anybody need probate? And then cover those things. And that might take a bit of work. But once it's there on the website, it's an obvious one, you know. Martin?
No, I was just going to say there's a very good guy on one of the on the Friday Bath networking group called Steve Rogers, who does wills. So, you know, you could just have a one-to-one with someone like that. And whether you can offer his services, and when he's obviously talking to a lot of people, and he can maybe say, well, have you sorted your, you know, I mean, I don't know how, you know, whether you want to be that direct, but, you know, there might be a good synergy between the two of you. He's a really nice guy.
Joint ventures like that are very good. If he's in Bath, you've got to say, well, Wells, but actually he's got Bath and Wells Funeral Services. I know Rod wants to reach out further into there. So just as we said with Rob, it's about using your network and getting them from a referral point of view, working on a particular project. Anybody else? Anybody else, any ideas that they might be able to apply themselves? Tracy?
Well, I was just thinking about what Martin said. Do you think Andrew Davis would be a good contact for him as well, Martin? Andrew Davis is, I know it's prepaid funeral plans, but it might be a way of upselling services, if that sounds good. Rod?
I think Rod does prepaid funeral plans, and that market is changing dramatically. And it could be that Rod's going to pull out of that. Rod?
Certainly prepaid funeral plans have been the lifeblood of my business over the initial years. You know, I remember a funeral director that trained me up saying, don't expect to do a funeral in the first year. And you think, well, what the hell am I supposed to be doing? So no wonder you find me on the market talking to people about funeral plans. Hadn't been for funeral plans, I wouldn't be here today. But it's changing so much that you've got to decide whether you want to, instead of being an independent person, which is the way I am now, you've got to decide whether you're going to work fully for one company or become an independent, almost like an independent financial advisor, because the industry needs to be regulated, which is understandable. But it will mean that people like me won't feel obliged to sell funeral plans, because on the other hand, why am I selling funeral plans? Not because I make any money out of them, although I did initially because of the style I used, but these days because they're allocated to me. So in effect, I can sidestep the red tape and the stuff that goes around that, and welcome you know, people like the chap I helped the other day, the allocations chap, and many other funeral plan companies that don't have funeral directors.
Even if it didn't pay you, Rod, you're talking to your future clients, because you're normally talking to the man and the wife, say, and you're talking about and you're being helpful, helping them think about their funeral. So whatever, unless, you can refer.
It's a no-brainer.
You're talking to a future client.
I appreciate that.
The other benefit, of course, of what we need to think about when we're doing something is, what do we want from it? I know Chris was thinking, right, well, he's put a lot of money into what he's doing. And I'm talking about Chris Briggs, by the way. He's put a lot of money into this. He's doing it very professionally. So he knows what he wants out of it to pay that back. And so there's a temptation to go for that full price. The only challenge with that is, if he gets that, that's fine. But another way to look at this is, in fact, to begin with, maybe offer a teaser at a particular price that is a no-brainer, that a lot of people would buy to get them into the funnel. And if that money pays for the advertising, the pay-per-clicks, you're breaking even on that, then your advertising is free. I mean, that's not my idea, that's a Russell Brunson idea. But sometimes when you're pricing something, for instance, if Marcus was making, let's say it was £25, and the coffee and the cake for this event was £5, right? So he's making £20. He could do a campaign where, if he get somebody to that at a cost of £20, because he measures the pay-per-click, and he's getting those people in for free, so he's building his audience, qualifying that audience for free. Could be that he could bring those people in. That could pay for a campaign. £200, £250. I don't know. The web specialist, Ollie and Andrew, are going to be with us taking the call next week. They could tell us how much that could get. It could be quite good. That could be quite good. Tracy, you've been very. I don't know how it's been for you on this particular call, whether it's given you any ideas. What's your thoughts?
So I've loved this call, because I've been, like Mike, I've been sat kind of writing loads and loads of notes. Love what Anne-Marie's doing. Absolutely fantastic idea and way to do things. I realise kind of, when you don't know what you don't know. So for me, what this call has also done is, there's some of the things that you're talking about I'm doing, but am I doing it in a joined up way? Am I doing campaigns? No. And I know I'm going to start that later on this year, because I'm kind of working up to do some kind of different products and stuff. But it's been fascinating and really insightful to kind of really sort of, for me, to sit down and start thinking about the things I'm not doing and why I'm not doing them.
I think when we're working on our own, we're all like that. I mean, years back, I was head of a team of 14 people in the marketing department. I was a marketing manager. Had people that did various things. I just need to keep them motivated. They're all graduates. I had 5 O level. I had 3 O levels when I left school, and when I left the police force, I'd managed to get 5. So I just had to keep the ball rolling and give the bigger vision. And that's the difficulty when you've got your own business. You are everything, and it's so tough. And you need to surround yourself with people who will brainstorm or contribute or help each other. That's why Marketing Crew was set up. But what I was more interested in was, had it sparked any campaign that you might be able to do?
Yeah, because I think I'm running a workshop in 2 weeks time, where some people are going to kind of test it, Anne-Marie being one of them for me. And so from that, I think I can kind of develop a campaign after that one. But it has sparked off a number of kind of thoughts about some of the things I need to kind of step up on and kind of change a bit. Yeah.
And the fact that you've had the guts to do it, that's what stops most people anyway. So we all encourage you to do it and just learn from it. You can't fail. You can just learn. And the next time, and it could be that you start out at one offering and you see what works. As we were doing with Rob, we were seeing how's it working so far? Don't, take it to fruition. He wants 12 people on that call. If he might want to consider, because I know a lot of people see if they have to leave the call, they go back to the recording. If he gets to a stage where maybe he's just got 4 people on the call, he could do it with 4. But he could also go out and invite some people for free to make the numbers up and to give those people the exposure. I was once, there was a guy that was, I think it was in Bracknell. He was doing a seminar on how to sell seminars. I was quite interested in that from a B&I point of view. I thought selling events. And I looked at his content, and I went on the content and I clicked on it, and then I clicked away. It wasn't that I wasn't going to do it. I just needed some, I wasn't sure. I don't know. I was just thinking about it, if you like. Within about 3 hours, 2 hours, he'd email me, don't know how, he'd email me and said, I noticed you were considering coming on this course. I'll make the numbers up. I think it was £147. He said, I want you to tell me what price you'd prefer to pay. And he gave me the option of paying 147, 117, or 97, right? I was really interested in the course. I thought it was great value. It was a great day. I was impressed with him, but I hadn't bought, and he gave me the option of 147, 117, and a 97. Very quickly, Marcus, what would you offer? If you wanted to do it, what would you offer to pay him?
Yeah, I'm 97.
Anne-Marie.
Sorry, I was on another screen. Yeah, 97.
Anybody, any advances on that?
I probably would have paid his 117, to be fair. I probably would have gone in the middle just to show that I'm not a cheapskate, but I don't give it some value.
Can I tell you, I did 97 and I was there, right? And it came up later on in the and he had about 80 people there. I don't know whether you do it, but I work out when I'm sat there, I'm working out how much somebody's making. Right. And he raised the subject. He said, I'd got most of my audience at the original price of £147. He said, when I made the offer, and he told me the percentage of people that went in the middle like Jason, it was by far the highest number. And there was a few people, like me included, had gone for the lower amount. And he asked people why they went for the middle. And it was exactly what Jason said. I want to be fair. I don't want him to think I'm a cheapskate. I don't want him to think I can't afford it. The psychology of people is incredible. And sometimes that could be part of the strategy. I'm not saying you should do it, but there's different ways. Pay what you think.
Just a quick idea for Tracy. I got a friend of mine does lead generation for an action coach. He got very successful. He's been 18 months, I think, we're working together. And his top of funnel tripwire, as Paul called it, they do outreach on LinkedIn, and then he does a 3 or 4 hour workshop that's a 90-day accelerator, or a 90-day business planning to accelerate your business. Words around that. But it's very much done on a kind of a white glove type approach where they're doing cold outreach on LinkedIn to connect, and then it's very much social selling in terms of a one-on-one personal approach. Don't talk about what they do, but then after 2 or 3 or 4 levels of engagement, they might say, oh, by the way, this is something, if you're in small business, we have this program. Would you like me to send you an invitation to the next one? It's no cost. Obviously, your investment's your time, which we know is really valuable. So it's not free. You've got to give 4 hours of your time. But there's a clear distinction. They don't push the link out there. You have to say, yes, I would like the link. And then when we'll send you the link, you then enter that. There's probably a few questions to go through, like a survey funnel to qualify. Then you're in their automated follow-up sequence. And then off of that 3 or 4 hour call, they have quite a high take-up rate. And obviously the call's structured in a way where there's probably lots of references to and seeding of your ongoing program. And I'm sure there's lots of stories in there of clients that he's had and that, but that's something that's been proven to be very successful from a business coach point of view.
Yeah.
And finding brand new clients on LinkedIn for it.
But the point is,
Thanks, Jason.
they've done it and they're able to measure it. And once you've got those measurements, in this guy's case, he can go back to other coaches, target other coaches with those case studies. But you can't do the case studies until you've actually done that. I mean, we don't measure the amount of business people get here because that wasn't the object of doing business with one another. But I know business is being done with one another, and quite considerable business. So what I'd like to do now is just to go around very briefly and just tell me one thing you've got from today's meeting. Andrew's got that grin that he's had entire operation. So I'm going to pick Andrew first. There you are.
My thinking face.
Andrew, what was, I put you on the spot because you could have been making tea or doing anything. What was the one thing you
all
got?
Sorts, Paul, all sorts. Yeah, brilliant, as usual. Funny enough, I was chatting to Ollie yesterday and I was saying that, I find sometimes with these calls, I drag my stuff in front of my computer and come away buzzing actually and sort of ready for the day and all that sort of stuff. And today's been like that as well. It's been really, really interesting. And really, I think for me, it's the whole make the time to actually run a campaign, because I'm always too busy to do X, Y, and Z. And actually, you know what? I just need to prioritize it and do it. So that's been very inspirational.
So many great benefits. And again, working on this accelerator with Marcus, we're going to be using Marcus to promote this even further. It's actually having the time to sit down and challenge what we're both thinking and deciding how we're going to do it, what we're going to do next. And we've only just started on that. Mike, your feedback from today. Good to see you again, by the way.
Yes. It's been too long. I've just written a whole host of notes. I need to show that I'm a bit more of an expert in the room and that people understand that, I know more than I give away. And giveaways is another one as well. I've been toying with the idea, similar to what Anne-Marie's doing, about just saying, why branding matters. Not just saying why a brand or why you should do it, just why it matters, and just give it away more. And myself and Rich, my designer here, we're thinking about doing a podcast, and I was going to call it Breaking Brand. Just have a play around and just talk about a logo. Just me and Rich just openly talking about what we thought of their logo, whether it's good or bad, and invite people to say, look, do you want to come along and have a chat with us? And do you want to send in your logo, see what we think of it? I've got loads of ideas.
We didn't even cover today challenges per se, but you could do a logo challenge. That could be good. I like Breaking Brand. And by the way, funny enough, I was talking about podcasting recently, and Anchor, who are a great podcasting service, a free service, have been bought by Spotify. If you upload to Anchor, it's automatically uploaded to Spotify and can be uploaded. That's automatic. You don't need any technical gift. But if you can also put it out on LinkedIn. And if you do nothing more than say, I've got a podcast on Spotify, it adds a bit of kudos, a bit of whatever. Martin, what about you?
Yeah, it's sort of great to hear everybody's input. I sort of realise I don't do any campaigns. Well, I do email marketing. So I kind of concentrate on that at the moment, but I like the idea of Anne-Marie actually sending something like a physical brochure. That would be something I would, in the future, really like to do.
You're doing an email marketing campaign with Nick, aren't you?
Yeah, so that's like every month. So it's not a specific, I suppose I write a blog and I send out emails and then say, come and have a look at my blog, and then sort of try and engage people on LinkedIn as well through the same, pull people in. So I guess that is my ongoing campaign. And to be honest, I don't have more enough time to consider something else at the moment. And it feels like there's a bit of traction with that. it feels like I've had a few inquiries, so I feel quite positive about that approach at the moment.
The key is you're able to measure it. That's the important thing. Decide, is this working? You've got to give things time enough, but eventually the beauty is that at least you can measure.
Yeah, and also I like the idea of, like you say, you have to keep kind of, so I've had these inquiries, but so giving them a proposal, but, to go back to that where you're talking about 7 points of touch points. So, to follow up, maybe send them another sort of, little, like another email or whatever, I phone them, so it's just that sort of ongoing process where you just don't sort of think, oh, well, whatever. And, they're not interested. So.
Okay. Ollie, what about you? What have you got from today?
Yeah, great. It's always, my one was, kind of taking time to do a campaign. And like I sort of said earlier, the one I want to do is getting all the local businesses and that, just to recognise who I am, know who I am. And I'm already getting people recommend me on Facebook who I've never met or worked with, which is really good. So I just want to kind of do that a bit, get that a bit more. And I think implementing some of the things everyone sort of mentioned. So obviously Anne-Marie's great tips about physical things. I really like Rob's idea of giving a book as well. I often recommend kind of books that I've read to clients. And I think, whether it's related to what I'm selling them, it doesn't really matter. I think just that nice offering that you've listened to them and shown that you've kind of taken an interest in what they do and what they might be interested in, I think is really powerful. I think coming up with more of a structure to my kind of marketing plan,
I think also whatever you do, you've got to say, is this doable? Can I do this consistently? Because if you're over busy, there's no point in doing it for a bit and then stopping and doing it. You've got to say, well, whatever I do, it's got to be like an hour a day, or it's got to be 30 minutes every second day, or it's got to be fully automated. So you've got to have that as also part of the parameters of organising it. Andy?
As always, a great meeting and lots of ideas bubbling around. So the book one with Anne-Marie, I think I'll definitely be looking at that. There's some legs in the little book of leasing. So I'll probably do two, one for personal and one for business, because they're my two types of distinct customers. So I think that would definitely be something to do. Yeah.
I think the little book of leasing is a Jeffrey Gittimer idea.
It's in the same vein, isn't it? Yeah.
Anne-Marie, you've inspired so many people as usual on this call with your ideas. What have you got from today?
Well, I've got two things from today. One is that I'm better at marketing than I thought I was.
Absolutely.
And the other is that I'm going to be really rich soon, because I'm going to be taking a percentage of everybody's postal marketing campaign. Result.
Marcus.
Yeah, lots of great stuff there, Paul. Lots of food for thought. I guess I was thinking just then about it's overcoming the fear of holding an event, isn't it? It's just like doing your own birthday party and thinking, oh, nobody's going to turn up. What am I going to do? So yeah, I guess really it's all very exciting, and it's just overcoming the fear factor.
Hey, listen, I invite people who completely screw up the technology and we still survive. So you think on your feet. That's why sometimes doing it together with somebody, with Rob doing it.
Yes, definitely. Love that.
Rod, what about you? Anything from today? I've suddenly lost him.
I've got a new marketing campaign, haven't I? I've got a new campaign thanks to Jason. Free will service. It just sort of kindled the conversation from yesterday, which was a bit of an off the cuff, but it makes absolute sense, because of course it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. I don't know why I didn't think of it myself. Thanks, Jason. Sprechen Sie Deutsch and Sie Hasen. Very good.
Jason, just to you, and then finally to ladies last on this occasion, Tracy next. So Jason, what have you got from today?
I really enjoyed this morning. I was quite certain that the kind of people that, Paul, that you would have attracted to you would be a really valuable group. I hope we've been able to contribute a bit. Certainly learnt. And many of us know all this stuff, but we forget it because we've all been doing it so long. You forget the important stuff. As I look to go forward, I've got a month in the UK of training in my new role. And I know that definitely has to be campaign driven. And I think, yeah, the key pickup on that is going to be the follow up, because the particular product I'm selling, you don't just decide out of the blue that, oh yeah, the basement's a good idea. So I mean, if you're going to get a house built, it's usually for the end user, it's kind of once in a lifetime thing. So I need to be working early on my leads on my database, and I think the referrals are going to be a really key part of that. But then I'm going to have to develop some kind of follow-up process where it might take me 2, 3, 4, 5 years before a client then buys. But then it will be a great big, potentially £500,000 purchase.
Well, you know how prominent politicians have copywriters. Maybe you need the Accelerator program of mine so that you've got an experienced marketing director behind it.
Maybe I've written that down. My thought was,
or brainstorming.
397 for 90 days. You are way too cheap. So
I know I am. I know. Just grab it while it's that price. Tracy.
Can I start a plan now?
Tracy, finally you.
The one lesson I think I'm taking away from today is I've had people kind of look at my profile after I might have sent them an email, and I've done nothing about it. And I think from today, I need to follow up with that, because I've not wanted to be too intrusive and kind of, follow people down and track them down and stalk them. And maybe I need to do a bit more of that in a kind of Anne-Marie way, where I'm finding another way to engage and kind of get that traction.
Is that?
Can I just say, if you get arrested for stalking, please don't mention me.
Is that on LinkedIn, Tracy?
Yeah. So if I've sent out somebody an email and they've looked in LinkedIn, I've made a note of it, but I haven't followed up in any way.
I think people on LinkedIn, they're there for business. What they don't want is to be sold and pitched straight away. So it's just about the way you do that.
Yeah.
And other people might have some good ideas. Finally, Marcus again, and then I'm going to close.
Yeah, just to finish up with Paul, this is for Jason. This is advertising slogans that you shouldn't use. If the basement fits, you should get one.
So what was that? If the basement what?
Fritz, as in Fritz the serial killer.
yeah, very good. I did think about dig for victory, but that's obviously we know what that means in the UK, but the Germans are not quite so.
Guys, thank you very much. Remember, next week we have Andrew and Ollie, and we're going to be picking up on. Well, we're not necessarily picking up on this. We might want to allude to this, but it really is. Your website is either a digital tool to help you in your marketing, if you know what to do with it. And many people, the question is, why have you got a website? What do you want it to do? And is it working? And that was the theme set for Ollie and Andrew. And I know they've been working together on presenting. So I'll be introducing, but they'll be taking the sessions and taking your questions next week so that we can take a look at our own websites and think, is it working? What's it for? Should it be revamped? Whatever. Is that okay, Ollie? Andrew? Great. Nice to see everybody. Have a great week. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Cheers all.
Cheers all.